something that has also been an important part or an interesting part of how people have talked about your role here is how your role has reshaped the perception of masculinity. And I'm not sure you planned on that, but you are an incredibly supportive spouse. Has that been an evolution for you? And do you think that's part of the role you might play as first gentleman?
It's funny, I've started to think a lot about this. I've always been like this. My dad was like this, and to me, it's the right thing to do. You know, support women. It's mutual. Like with Kamala and I, we support each other. We have each other's back. And I've said many times, when we lift up women, we support women, whether it's pay equity, childcare, family leave, and all these issues that, and you know, this post-Dobbs hellscape. Women should not be less than. Women should not have less rights and be treated differently. That's not the American way. And it's also not like, if some woman succeeds, some dude out there is suffering. It's not a one-to-one relationship. When we lift up women, we lift up families, we lift up the economy. And when I was in the business world, it lifted up the organizations that I was in. It certainly lifted up the White House when you were there, with you there and Kamala as vice president. It was a great workplace there.
There's a pop culture phrase, wife guy, which you've kind of been known as. Are you familiar with this?
I've heard about it.
As called a wife guy, a proud wife guy? How do you feel about that?
Well, if I do something annoying to Kamala and she gets upset, I'll just show her that article.
Right.
And I'll say, I'm trying.
Or a t-shirt or a mug.
Yeah.
All right. So first off, I want to say thanks to everyone who has subscribed, everyone who has left likes on my videos, and everyone who has commented. That feedback is really helpful to let me know what you guys are enjoying and what more I can bring you, because ultimately you're what it's all about. So anyways, thank you. I'm very grateful for the feedback and for the positive and even the negative response. So thanks. All right, so today we're going to talk about masculinity a little bit, and I've got an article that I want to go through with you and see what you guys think about how this behavior and this incident matches what you would consider masculinity, or something that a masculine, confident man would do. Which brings me to my first point. I think confidence is probably the number one trait of masculinity, right? Because every other trait kind of stems from that. The strength, and I don't just mean physical strength, but the strength to not lose your mind when something minor happens, or the strength to not blow your top when you may feel some, jealousy or something like that, and the strength not to react in ways that are harmful to others just to satisfy your spiking emotion in the moment. So those are some masculine traits that I think are important, but the left is attempting to bring us a new idea of masculinity, and the examples they want to use are Tim Walz and Doug Emhoff. You can have your views and ideas about whether you think those two match the idea of masculinity or not. I have my own views and I have my own opinions on that. What we have here today is this article, and it is about Doug Emhoff, because he was recently in the MSNBC interview with Jen Psaki, and one of the things they talked about was him being the, redefining masculinity or whatever. And I just want to go through this article with you guys and see what you think about whether this actually matches the idea of masculinity that you have or not. Let's see, let's drop this down here. We'll drop it to, we'll drop it about there. Okay, so anyways, this is the article. It's on the Daily Mail. Let me blow it up so everybody can read it. How do I get this bigger? All right, so Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, forcefully slapped ex-girlfriend for flirting with another man and booze-fueled assault after date to star-studded gala. Well, right here we start off with that doesn't seem like a very masculine trait, because one thing, I have a son who's 22 now, but one thing I've impressed upon him since he was a very young boy is that we don't hit girls. He has two sisters, and they're older than him, and at one point they were both stronger than him, but I still impressed upon him that you don't hit your sisters. We don't hit girls. And the biggest reason for that is because men, we're generally stronger, and we can hit harder, and we can cause a lot of harm to a female. And not only do we not want to hurt them, not only do we not want to overexert our strength onto them, but we don't want to carry the guilt afterwards. Does anybody really feel good after you hurt someone, harm someone, especially someone you're close to? So anyways, let's move on with this. Doug Emhoff forcefully slapped ex-girlfriend. Vice President Kamala Harris' husband assaulted his ex-girlfriend, 3 friends have told DailyMail.com. The second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, 59, allegedly struck the woman in the face so hard she spun around while waiting in a valet line late at night after a May 2012 Cannes Film Festival event in France. Hit her so hard she spun around. Now that's a hard hit, and that's what I was saying. We don't hit men don't hit women because we can hurt them. We can hit much harder. So anyways, one of her friends told DailyMail.com that the woman called him immediately after the incident, sobbing in her cab, and described the alleged assault. DailyMail.com is not naming the woman, who is a successful New York attorney, but will refer to her by the pseudonym Jane. A second friend said Jane, who had been dating Emhoff for 3 months, also told her about the alleged violence at the time. A third friend told DailyMail.com that Jane first told her in 2014 that she had dated Emhoff and recounted the full story of his alleged abuse in 2018. When then Senator Harris was in the news after grilling Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh in a Senate hearing after sexual assault allegations. Okay, so as we go through this, you're going to see, I hope you'll see, I hope I can make it pretty clear, but the behaviors and actions exhibited by Doug Emhoff, if this article is truthful and accurate, which I have no reason to believe that it isn't, but he displays what I would call a really weak man. It's the opposite of masculinity, but yet again, this is what MSNBC and multiple, left-leaning media outlets want to tell us is the redefining of masculinity. But you're going to see what I mean. All of the traits that he exhibits here seem pretty weak and the opposite of masculinity to me. But you guys let me know what you think. A third friend told Daily Mail that Jane first told her in 2014 that she had dated Emhoff and recounted the full story of his alleged abuse in 2018 when the Senate, where I read through that. The friends, who all asked not to be named for fear of retaliation by Emhoff, shared with DailyMail.com pictures of him and Jane together from 2012 and other documents and communications corroborating elements of the story. So this is him, a few years younger, and this is the woman, but we can't see her. They're protecting her identity, and that's a good thing. Jane declined to comment. The shocking claims follow revelations by DailyMail.com that Emhoff cheated on his first wife and mother of his 2 kids around 2008, allegedly impregnating his daughter's nanny, who also worked as her grade school teacher. Now this, right away, we see behavior that isn't masculine. It's not the kind of behavior we would teach our sons to want to grow up and exhibit. I certainly wouldn't. You don't cheat on your wives, and you sure don't abuse your position of, I don't want to say authority, but an authority figure over the employees who work for you. Emhoff admitted the affair with the nanny and teacher, Najee Naylor, after DailyMail.com published the story last month. All three of Jane's friends said she also told them about a disturbing alleged incident during her relationship with second gentleman in which Emhoff nonchalantly admitted to impregnating Naylor. So he not only cheated with her, he knocked her up. We're not off to a great start in the exhibition of masculinity here, Doug. Emhoff told Jane that the nanny accused him of causing her to have a miscarriage, the friends claimed. He caused her to have a miscarriage. Does this seem like masculine behavior? Now, I'm not sure what that entails or what that means, but certainly it doesn't match what I would want my son to grow up and be. You know, I mean, he is grown now, but when he was young, I certainly wouldn't have taught him to grow up and exhibit this behavior. According to the friends, Emhoff did not say how he was allegedly responsible for the miscarriage, and he told Jane that the nanny's claims were false. Okay, so we have his word against hers, but she was pregnant. He did cheat on his wife with her. We're unsure about the miscarriage and what that was all about, but I have an idea on that, and I'll tell you in a second. But the second gentleman allegedly confessed to Jane that he paid Naylor a settlement of around $80,000 and had the nanny sign a non-disclosure agreement. Now, the left, who is loving Doug Emhoff at the moment and praising him for being supportive to being the first gentleman, or, you know, whatever the heck those guys say, they're going to ignore this right here, and that they just had a meltdown over Trump signing a non-disclosure agreement with Stormy Daniels or whatever. But they're going to act like this is no big deal because that's how they often do. Is they like to use a elevation of virtue over others. But then when the same thing affects their side, it's no big deal. It doesn't really matter. It wasn't important in the first place. Emhoff was previously dubbed by Democrats as a wife guy. A guy who lost his first marriage because he cheated on the nanny is the wife guy. And mensch, I don't know what that means. The Yiddish term for an honorable, kind man. Does this seem like an honorable, kind man? Nice guy is what they mean. And this is an interesting one because I saw the other day after the debate with Tim Walz, some women on X saying, oh, he's such a nice man. Well, how many stories do we have of women saying, oh, he seems like such a nice guy at first? This usually followed by a abusive and miserable relationship later on, right? So he has also spoken out in media interviews about being an ally to women and against toxic masculinity. Interesting. In a funny interview on Sunday, MSNBC host and former Biden White House press secretary Jen Psaki told Emhoff that he reshaped the perception of masculinity. When we get into this, you're going to see exactly what they're trying to reshape the perception of masculinity into. And the reason why is because they want these negative behaviors. They want these horrible, awful behaviors so that they can further say, see, it's an assault on masculinity. It's an assault on men. And you all know this. It's been going on for well over a decade, probably since the 60s and the sexual revolution, despite his admitted affair with his daughter's nanny and teacher. I've always been like this. Emhoff said to Psaki, I bet you have, Doug. It's not really a behavior you pick up. To me, it's the right thing to do, support women. Oh, that's interesting. Like this guy support women, right? These allegations strike to the heart of the benevolent image promoted by the Harris presidential campaign. Jane's friend said she was given tickets by wealthy friends to go to Foundation for AIDS Research gala dinner, an elite charity auction filled with top celebrities and Hollywood executives held on May 24, 2012 at the hotel. Attendees that year included model Cara Delevingne, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, actors Antonio Banderas and Alec Baldwin, designer Karl Lagerfeld, singer Kylie Minogue, actress Kirsten Dunst, socialite Paris Hilton, and top Amfar supporter, now disgraced movie mogul Harry Weinstein. The friends said Jane brought her then boyfriend Emhoff as a +1. One of Jane's friends, a top New York businessman, said she was at home getting ready for bed that night when he got an unexpected phone call from her. It was hard to hear her because she was sobbing, he said. She told me she was with a guy and he hit her. It was very clear what she was telling me. She said she was with a guy, her date. She was at the Cannes Film Festival and he hit her. This is Doug Emhoff. Let's not forget that, right? The nice guy. How else did they describe him? The wife guy, the honorable, kind man. So yeah. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to call the French police. I couldn't get a hold of her after calling back. He said he still had a vivid memory of the troubling conversation from 12 years ago and later conversations, but pretty contemporaneous with that. She told me more about the guy, he added. It was something like 3 a.m. They were trying to get out of there, and they both had been drinking. There was a gigantic line for taxis. Jane went up to one of the valet guys, offered him 100 euros or whatever to get to the head of the line. She told me she put her hand on his shoulder. Doug apparently thought that was flirting and came over and slapped her in the face. Now, a strong and confident masculine male doesn't allow something so minor as his wife, his girlfriend, his date, or whatever, putting her shoulder or her hand on the shoulder of a valet to send him into a jealous rage like this to where he goes and hits her. So is this really the redefining of masculinity that we want to teach our boys? This is gross. She slapped him back. Well, good. My impression is that he had a lot to drink. She was sobbing on the phone afterwards, but she wasn't slurring her words. She told me that she broke up with him that night. Again, good. A second friend, another female New York attorney, said Jane told her about the alleged attack at the time and said it came out of nowhere. They had dinner. She said Doug was very charming and it was lovely. Then I believe it was between 2 and 3 a.m. It was still raging, but she was wearing 4-inch heels and a floor-length gown, so it was time to depart. She said there had been no fight before he hit her. You would have thought it was this fairy tale trip. She put her hand on the valet's shoulder, and as she was talking to him, Doug comes up. She said he turned her around by her right shoulder, and she was completely caught off guard. He hauled up and slapped her so hard she spun around. She said she was in utter shock. Okay, so this isn't masculine behavior at all. It's certainly not the new reinvention of masculinity, the neo-masculine man that we want to raise our boys into. And we're going to see some clues later on. If you guys stick with me, we're going to see some clues later on that led to showing you exactly what kind of man Doug Emhoff was, that he acted this way, that he would actually hit a woman because he was in a jealous rage, let alone a woman that he was newly dating. From what I understand, they were fairly new at just, working out a relationship. She was so furious she slapped him on one side and then on the other cheek with the other hand. The three friends said that as Jane tried to leave following the alleged assault, Emhoff forced his way into the cab with her. All of a sudden, the car was there and they were ushering her into the car, the attorney friend said. She said she wanted to go back to the hotel without him, but while she was shutting the door, he forced himself into the car, which she did not want. He should have picked up a different cab, but he's not going to because he believes he'll go where he wants to go and he'll do what he wants to do, right? Doug Emhoff is so far exhibiting the type of man that they want to convince you that Donald Trump is, or at least in this story. I think she asked him what the F was that all about in the car, and the only thing she could really get out of him was that he thought she was hitting on the valet. Jane told me she was so embarrassed. She couldn't believe he is the person that he is and that it turned into this trailer trash moment. It woke her up about the self-delusion she was having, explaining away the teacher's story. She realized he was bad news. This was the first time she saw his ugly side. She said she called her male businessman friend because she wanted Doug to see her on the phone telling somebody. She felt that would afford her some protection. So she's now at this point in fear for her life. She doesn't know what's going to happen. He's already smacked her, and he's forced himself into the car with her when she didn't want him there. The third friend, a female top company executive, said Jane told her the story in 2018. This isn't long ago. This isn't very long ago at all for him to be pretending to be the, defender of women and supporter of strong and independent women or whatever. I don't know if it was an aggressive slap or a punch, but it was something that I know she would never forget. Well, an aggressive slap or a punch, what's the difference? It's a man who lost his temper and in a jealous rage slapped his date. It's unbelievable. And something that would end a relationship immediately, the executive said. She said she had never been hit in her life. Jane is gorgeous, strong woman, and you would never expect somebody to hit her. Now, I wonder if he still slaps around Kamala. Does he slap around the vice president like that? I don't know. Makes you wonder, though, doesn't it? I mean, it's not a behavior that just comes out. It just happened to come out with this one woman who he apparently barely knew. As we go on with the story, you'll see that. The executive said Jane told her that Emhoff was unapologetic about the alleged abuse the next day. When he hit her, she hit him back. Like, don't you ever do that again, she said. I asked her if he ever apologized. She said no, but he commented about the hit she gave him. It was a tennis metaphor, but no apology at all. He was a tennis fan, said the female attorney. All he said to her was, don't worry about it. You got one across the court and down the line. The executive said Jane believed Emhoff meant that now they were even. Oh, now we're even. I smacked you, and since you defended yourself, we're even. That's not the way it works in the male-female dynamic, Doug. She said it was hurtful at the time, the attorney said, but she said she didn't want to feel like a victim. The friend said Emhoff ended the trip early to return to L.A. for his daughter Ella's 13th birthday on May 29th, and that he and Jane never saw each other again. A copy of Jane and Emhoff's itinerary the friend shared with DailyMail.com shows a layover flight from Newark, New Jersey to, I think that's pronounced Nice, though we pronounce it Nice, France on May 22nd, 2012. Their return flight from Milan. Sorry, excuse me. It's sinuses here. Italy was originally scheduled for May 29th. As May 17, 2012, email provided friends. I'm going to skip some here. Oh, okay, here we go. The executive said that Jane described how Emhoff love-bombed her from their first date after connecting on dating site Match.com, quickly throwing himself into an intimate relationship with Jane and giving her the impression he wanted to marry her. Okay, ladies, if I have any females watching this, when you meet a new guy, especially young ladies who maybe haven't that much experience with this, when you meet a man, if he comes across love bombing you from the start, that should be the largest red flag. Head out. Just get out. The love bombing and I can't wait to marry you. These guys who do this, these are people pleasers, and it's not going to end well for you. The relationship isn't going to go well. Now, it'll feel good at first, and that's the intent. They want you to feel good, feel like you're really special, like you're something different than all of the rest of the girls. And that's the tactic that these guys use, right? They want to love bomb you, make you feel like you're the most special and important thing in the world. And I don't know the psychology of it, but it's certainly should be a red flag when you see this from any male. She had met his parents, his kids, and the female executive said prior to this, he had been making comments about marriage. The attorney friend said Jane told her Emhoff had even introduced her to his son, Cole, on the first date. All right, here's another one. Young ladies, if you meet a guy who happens to have children and he wants to take you to meet his children on the first date, run. Simple as that. Love bombing, meet the kids on the first date, run. Those are red flags. She went to a hotel bar to meet Doug after work. It was a typical Match.com date where you only commit to a drink. They were there an hour, and he told her his son was in the city walking around. I think he had just started college. She had this huge outdoor space at her apartment. She suggested they go to her apartment and order pizza. Jane said Cole started smoking, and Doug asked for one. The whole thing was weird. Yeah, that's weird. Doug liked her, so he incorporated Cole into the date. Am I reading this right? This is his son. And he invites her in the middle of the date, invites the son to go along on the date with. Why is it said this is a smart and strong woman? Why is she doing this? The story appears similar to Harris' description of how Emhoff quickly dived into his relationship with her in 2013. See, this is this is a pattern. That's who this guy is. That's why I say, is he slapping around the vice president like that? Because this is a personality trait. He didn't change it because he didn't see that he did anything wrong. See, he hadn't we saw before, he hadn't felt guilt about slapping the other one. He just said, well, I guess we're even now. I'm too old to play games or hide ball, Emhoff wrote in an email, according to Harris' 2019 book, The Truths We Hold. I really like you, and I want to see if we can make this work. Harris wrote that Emhoff introduced her to, and see, this probably felt wonderful for her because she's an insecure woman who needs validation. I think that's pretty clear and apparent in everything that she says and the way she's always trying to nod when she talks to get someone else to go along with her. She needs validation. She's insecure and she's uncertain of herself, which definitely isn't the personality, the type of character that we want as president, because it's not going to show strength on the world stage. But I'm sure she loved this from Emhoff, this love bombing and this constant, I can't wait to be with you, and we're going to get married. I want to marry you, and all of this right off the bat. Harris wrote that Emhoff introduced her to his children after about 2 months, and they married in August 2014. Well, at least he waited 2 months to introduce to them. Jane's friends said that just weeks after her first date with Emhoff, he invited her to visit him in Los Angeles in April 2012. Doug flew her out, said the attorney. She was there for a week. He was interested in buying a new house. He put on a big show about how important it was for Jane to have some sort of say in the house he purchased. Why? See, this This is not a masculine male. This is not a confident male. This is not a secure male. This is a weak male, a manipulative male, and someone who is not to be trusted. Well, we'll go from there. Emhoff was divorcing his wife, Kirsten, at the time, and while Jane was visiting, he made a confession about the reason for the split. She felt for some reason his wife had the upper hand, and she couldn't understand why that was. She told me they were driving, and she asked him. He told her that he had gotten the kid's teacher pregnant, and that had been the cause for the divorce. I would imagine so, yeah. The executive said the nanny claimed he had been aggressive with her, shouting or whatever, to the degree that she lost the baby. He did it rather matter-of-factly, not apologizing or saying he screwed up, but just like it was any other conversation. He doesn't accept responsibility. He doesn't. What is that? Is that narcissism? I don't know. That's some kind of a behavior trait where you don't feel guilt. You don't see that you've done anything wrong, even though you may have done horrible things wrong and really harmed other people and hurt them. And he did it rather matter-of-factly, not apologizing. Not, I've got to tell you something. This isn't who I am, or I'm embarrassed about it. There was no shame or regret. Well, no, because he doesn't feel bad about it. He doesn't have any regret about the poor choices he's made. The attorney friends or the other people that he's harmed. The attorney friend said Emhoff suggested the nanny was making up the claims and that Jane wanted to believe him at the time. Jane said she entertained what he was telling her, that the teacher wasn't really pregnant, that she was doing a shakedown, which, I mean, I can understand that. You might want to fall for that. She's doing a shakedown, especially as someone that has some money and is a prominent figure in the community or whatever. Jane's businessman friend, I'm going to skip around here, told him Emhoff confessed to settling with the nanny for about $80,000 and having her sign an NDA. Doug had to pay something like $80,000. So here's what I'm thinking. He paid her off to have an abortion, right? She said that he caused her to have a miscarriage, but I think he gave her the $80,000, said you get an abortion and sign this non-disclosure agreement and nobody hears about it. This is what I think happened. He paid her, he knocked the nanny up, which was a total breach of his ethics, the ethics that he should have held, not to, for one, have sex with your employees, for two, not to take your position as, it's just bad all the way around, man. It's just bad all the way around. There's a whole lot of ethics violations, obviously the morality of cheating on your wife and getting someone pregnant, but now we top it off with and this is what I believe, I don't know, I believe he paid her $80,000, said you get an abortion, I don't want to hear anything else about it, disappear. The call out was given priority at level 3, which is life-threatening emergency lights on and sirens. LAPD refused to give further information to name the individual involved. If they had to call the ambulance, living at the time and allegedly pregnant, if they had to call an ambulance, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what happened there, but he paid her $80,000 to never tell the story of what happened, apparently. She bought the flights the week before. But anyhow, I think that's about it for me. You can go read this. It's on dailymail.com. Well, we're about the end. The friend said that Jane thought nobody would care about her story until Harris' rise to power made Emhoff a notable public figure, at which point she became afraid of retaliation if she ever spoke out. But they said they believed it was in the public interest to expose Emhoff's alleged hypocrisy. He's holding himself out to be something he absolutely is not. And that's bull crap, said the female executive. I feel like people should know who their leaders really are, right? Jane was always leaning Democratic. I have always voted Democratic. If anything, I would like to tell a story on the other side, but this is the truth. All right, so that's it. This is at dailymail.com. dailymail.co.uk is where I see this article. So you can go there and read the entire article if you want and get a little more involved in it. But I thought that was interesting. This is Doug Emhoff, the face of modern masculinity, right? The neo-masculine man. It's crazy. So if you're teaching your sons that this is the type of man you want him to grow up as, if you're teaching him to exhibit these behaviors, please stop. Please stop. Do something different. You need to do better as a parent. We don't need to turn more of this loose on the in our society and in our culture and in our country. So anyways, that's all I have for you. You guys let me know what you think. Thanks in advance for any likes. If you want to subscribe, that would be great. Thanks for comments, and I'll talk to you in there if you decide you want to talk about something. And I will catch you the next time. Later.